All right, let's jump right in. We're going to look at one single, totally revolutionary chapter from the prophet Ezekiel. This one chapter basically blew the doors off of a community's entire way of thinking about guilt, about punishment, and most importantly, about hope. And trust me, this isn't just some dusty old history lesson. It's a powerful message for anyone who's ever felt completely trapped by the past.
So this quote, this was the saying of the day for the people of Israel who were living as exiles in Babylon. You can think of it as their slogan of despair. It's catchy, right? But it's also incredibly bitter. It summed up their whole worldview. We're suffering, and you know what? It's not even our fault.
I mean, come on, of course you have. We've all been there. That feeling of being stuck with the consequences of a choice you didn't even make. It's universal. And this is exactly the headspace the exiles were in. And it's the core problem that Ezekiel is about to walk right into and confront head on.
Okay, so to really get this, we have to put ourselves in their shoes. These are the Babylonian exiles. Everything they knew is gone. Their nation, destroyed. Their sacred temple, leveled, just rubble. And they've been marched off to a foreign land. And they've got a very simple and very bleak explanation for why it all happened.
They looked back at their own history and they saw this long line of ancestors messing up, turning away from God again and again. So when their whole world came crashing down in 587 BCE, they didn't think, oh no, what did we do wrong? They thought, wow, the giant bill for centuries of sin finally came due and we're the unlucky ones stuck paying it. They saw themselves as victims of transgenerational punishment.
This analogy is maybe the best way to think about it. It perfectly captures that sense of injustice. It's like your ancestors threw this wild, massive party for 100 years. And then you, their descendants, are the ones who wake up with the world's worst hangover. But here's the thing, you didn't even get to go to the party. How is that fair? Well, it's not, and that's exactly how they felt.
So you've got this whole community just stewing in this toxic mix of despair, defiance, and finger-pointing. And right into the middle of all that, the prophet Ezekiel steps up, and he's got a message from God that is about to be a complete and total game changer. This is the turning point.
Boom. This is the moment. God essentially drops the mic. He declares that this entire way of thinking is now obsolete. He's saying, you know that slogan, that excuse you've all been hiding behind? It's canceled, effective immediately. The old way of thinking is officially over.
So here's the logic God lays out. Look, you're not wrong that the sins of your ancestors led to this massive climactic judgment. But, and this is the key, that judgment was the end of that story. The bill has now been paid in full, the slate is wiped clean. It's a brand new day with a brand new set of rules.
So if that old system of collective guilt and blaming the ancestors is gone, what takes its place? Something radical. And frankly, a little scary. Individual spiritual responsibility. From this moment forward, each person and each generation stands on its own 2 feet before God. And to make this crystal clear, Ezekiel tells this brilliant little 3-generation story. So you've got a righteous father. He does everything right. He will live. But his son, he's a mess, ignores his dad's ways and does evil. Does his dad's goodness save him? Nope, he will die. But then, his son, the righteous grandson, sees the mess his own father made and chooses a totally different path. And guess what? He will live. His father's sin doesn't condemn him. The chain of doom is broken.
Ezekiel is just hammering this point home, isn't he? He's essentially taking an old legal rule they all knew from their justice system, that you can't punish a child for their parent's crime, and he's applying it to their spiritual lives. The bottom line is simple. Your spiritual fate is your own. Your choices matter.
But hold on. When Ezekiel keeps saying that someone will live or die, what does he actually mean? This isn't just about breathing or not breathing. The stakes here are much, much bigger. They're about the entire future of the community, the nation, and their deepest hope for restoration.
In this context, to live is all about being part of the great comeback story. It means you get to go home. It means you are part of the community that gets to rebuild, that gets to experience the new life God has promised them back in their homeland.
And to die? Well, that means you get left behind. It means you're excommunicated from that hopeful future. You're cut off from your people. You will not see the promised land again. You'll simply remain in the death of exile.
So here's the takeaway. Just because you're in exile doesn't mean you get an automatic ticket home. Ezekiel gives this pretty stark warning that God is going to set up a kind of checkpoint on the way back, almost like a border screening. And only those who have prepared for this new life by living righteously now will be allowed to pass through.
Now, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds like a whole lot of pressure, doesn't it? Be righteous or else get left behind. But Ezekiel doesn't just leave them there. He moves to the ultimate message of hope, and it's one that goes way beyond just following the rules and dives into total transformation.
And this right here, this is the emotional core of the whole chapter. You can really hear God's heart in this. His desire isn't to punish people, it's to see them change, to turn around and experience that new life. The tone is almost pleading, like, please choose life. I'm rooting for you.
Now, check this out, because this is a really fascinating twist. In another part of his book, God promises that one day he will give them a new heart as a future gift. But here, in this moment, Ezekiel commands them to get one for themselves right now. So what's that about? It seems the future promise of God is already available. The gift is on the table, but they have to be the ones to actively reach out and take hold of it.
And that is the perfect, brilliant answer to their fatalistic slogan. The message isn't simply, grit your teeth and try harder. No, it's an invitation to receive a new capacity for hope, a new desire for obedience, a new heart that is a gift from God. A fresh start isn't just something they have to earn, it's a reality that God is enabling them to choose.
So this ancient message from Ezekiel travels right through the centuries and lands squarely in our laps today. It demolishes the idea that we are doomed by our history, our family, or even our own worst mistakes. It places the future right back in our hands, powered by a new beginning that's being offered to us. The only question left, really, is what are we going to do with it?